in our team meetings, none of those, or the policies that we work under, were not done by. We weren't elected to carry those things out, right? So we respond to some of these folks' mandates, but our job is in this bureaucracy. Now, the interesting thing about the bureaucracy is that it is designed very much like the elected, the representative democracy, to slow things down so that we have a process, right? And so oftentimes in bureaucracies, we'll slow down the process so that we can make sure that everyone's accommodated for whatever it is that we're trying to do, which leads to that thing that we typically refer to as what? Red tape, right? So the red tape becomes our ability to do this. Now, elected people have responsibility to whom? All the people who who voted them in. So they have the responsibility to that because they were elected. Their bosses are the people. People in bureaucracies, who do they have responsibility to? Nobody, right? So to them, ultimately to themselves. And so bureaucracies get this label of red tape because they become self-serving organizations. So we can make up rules and regulations that serve us and how we as individuals or as an organization administer resources and power. All right? So I wanted to share Max Weber in this bureaucracy piece because all of the stuff that we do is important. However, typically it's made up by us. And we're, in a lot of ways, we're responding to some of the mandates and policies and procedures by these folks. But how we administer that stuff is typically up to us. And so we have to be clear about how we're working together to make those things happen. All right? I just wanted to share that. I thought I'm really excited about Max Weber and the stuff that he did. So let's go to the last part in your packet, and then we'll be ready to go. So on page 32 in your packet is basically just an outline of a 30-minute meeting. And so we all know that sometimes our meetings can't be 30-minute meetings, but ideally this is how we would hit it and quit it. We start off with 5 minutes of small talk. There's a call to order where the agenda is shared. 10 minutes to talk about our past actions or past accomplishments. And then we move into looking at future accomplishments, and we'd have some kind of claiming. And I'll explain claiming in just a bit. But for the most part, we just have a standard agenda and say, we'll spend this amount of time, much like what you do in your work group, and we'll spend this much time and this much time and so forth and so on. And even if we don't know exactly how much time it will be, the fact that we have a target helps us to organize how we want to spend that time. All right? So there's that. And then on the back side of that is the Action Task Planner, which is a tool I would encourage you to use. If not this particular form, another form of this. Because a lot of times our tasks get lost, or we forget things, or we're not, so I lose a lot of things, so I'll just say that. And so it's important for me to be responsible by connecting with my team members so everybody's clear about who's doing what and when. And the Action Task Planner is pretty self-explanatory. There's the task, the person responsible, there are the resources that are needed. The challenges are those things that could stop that thing from moving forward. Who are maybe it's money, maybe it's blah, 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 but as a group we kind of brainstorm that process of what kinds of things could stop us. We talk about the deadlines, and then once it's created, we go ahead and put a check mark or sign off on that. And those things are also directly related to our goals and to our actions. And so even in our team meetings, it should be really clear about what our overarching goal is and what our purpose for existing is. Because once we've served that, it's time to no longer meet and do something else. All too often, we end up doing things just because that's how we've always done it. And then you start asking people, well, why do we do it this way? Why did we do it that way? And no one can remember, but they'll go back to the procedure and they'll say, well, this is what the procedure says. Well, was there a context around that procedure, or was there something that we need to know or think about as we continue to do this thing that we've always done? So there's that. Next, I just want to talk a little bit about how to do some team reflecting and feedback, how to actually help your team grow. And so what I would offer is that when you're in a teaching position, these are some of the things you should keep in mind. That aiming, claiming, gaming, claiming, and exclaiming. And again, it's a mnemonic device to help us remember these things. But aiming is all about the goal setting. What is it that we're going to do? And as a facilitator, I need to think about these things ahead of time. What is it that I need or want for the group to do? And then what's the framework? What are the ground rules for how we're going to do the work we're going to do? And then gaming, what is it that we're actually going to do in the time that we have? And then claiming, that's where the process observer's role comes in. And so we try to help people understand what the concept is, as well as have them ingest it and make it a part of who they are so that it can be practical for them. And then exclaiming is just celebrating the good things that we do. Oftentimes treats serve that purpose to say, all right, we did some good work, let's eat, or let's do whatever. And sometimes it can be a catchphrase, like on many of you aren't old enough to remember Hill Street Blues, right? What was the catchphrase before he sent his officers off into the street?
Was it let's roll, or was it?
Yeah, be careful out there, right? Be careful out there. So that was his kind of catchphrase. It seems a little corny, but you can't imagine how far corn can go, all right? Especially if it's a little cheesy. Cheesy corn can go a long way, all right? So those were the pieces that I wanted to share with you today. The other part is that procrastination is what? What is procrastination?
My middle name.
Your middle name?
Avoidance.
Yeah.
It's avoidance. Procrastination is, it's a lie. There's no such thing as procrastination, right? When we talked about William Glasser, what did we say about Glasser? What was his choice theory? What did he say about his choice theory? People do what?
What they want to do.
So people do what they want. So if I am procrastinating, I am saying what?
I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it, is what I'm saying. And so when I don't want to do it, I'm actually making a decision to do something else as opposed to doing what I should be doing, which is what I don't want to do. And so remind the folks that you're working with that procrastination is about a choice. If you're procrastinating on a project or you're procrastinating on a thing, what you're telling me is that you don't want to do it. And so now we got to talk about that as opposed to spending time talking about your procrastination. And I gave the gorilla example before. 2 500-pound gorillas, they tear up the grass and they show their teeth and they make all this noise because they don't really want to fight. They want to take the attention off of the fighting and have you look at all this other stuff. And so that's important to remember as you work with folks. And I would encourage, in whatever your notes are, that for the meeting, the minutes, maybe the front side has the agenda, and at the bottom you have the list of who the next facilitators are, or all the team members, and you put an F by one and an R by another, and you rotate those dates or something like that, so that people are really clear about who's responsible for what. And maybe on the back you have meeting notes, so that the recorder has all of this information right in one sheet, or can staple that sheet and put it in a folder, or scan it, or whatnot. But that your meeting notes go with who's responsible and all that kind of stuff. So any questions? Because I want to finish early, because there's a rule in good training, which is start on time and leave early. So I want to do that, but I want to know if you have any questions, comments, or observations, things that I can be helpful with. All right. Well, I want to say it's been an honor and a pleasure, and you guys know I'm here, and I get paid if you call me. I get paid if you don't call me. So call me if you need